Good morning, you guys. It is Sarah from the Frugal Bear. Now, last weekend we had made pickled watermelon rind, and I thought my son was going to eat the watermelon since he wasn't eating much of anything else. Turns out he didn't. So I ended up running all of the watermelon through the food processor and then through a mesh strainer to get watermelon juice. So out of what was left of that personal size watermelon, we got just over 3 cups. We got about 3.5 cups of juice. So in this pot, we just have 3 cups of watermelon juice. There's no, it's not, it's just the juice. There's no pieces of watermelon in there at all. Like I said, we did run it through a strainer. So today we're going to make watermelon jelly. And now I have my water bath canner going, sterilizing my jars. And I need to find some place to put this lid. And I have my lids in a pot back there. So like I said, I have 3 cups of watermelon juice. Now to this we're going to add, this is 4.5 tablespoons of real lemon juice. I'm going to pour that in there. Watermelon has no acid in it on its own, so we need to make sure that we add some acid into it so that it will preserve. We're going to be using powdered pectin, and we have 9 tablespoons of powdered pectin, which would equate to 1.5 boxes. But I use Hoosier Hill Farms. I buy it in 2-pound quantities from Amazon. So to our pectin, we're going to mix just a little bit of our sugar that we have set aside. The sugar just helps the pectin to not clump. So we're going to mix that in. Turn our burner on to a high heat. We're going to dump our pectin in. Pectin sugar mix, I should say. It's nice to use a rubber spatula for this so we can get everything out. Hoping to get some apple cider jelly made today. And possibly some wine jelly. Got a bottle of wine in the refrigerator for some time. It hasn't been opened, so we want to get that used up. So now you can substitute liquid pectin for this. I don't use liquid pectin, so I don't know what the ratio is. I do know that liquid pectin is added at a different time. You would switch when you add the pectin and the sugar. So the sugar would be going in now, and then the liquid pectin would go in at the end. Whereas with powdered, the powdered goes in first, and the sugar goes in last. So with our watermelon juice, our lemon juice, and our pectin, and we have this on a high heat, we're going to bring this up to a boil. And we want it to be a rolling boil. And a rolling boil is a boil that you cannot stir down. So I will bring you back once this comes up to a rolling boil. Okay, so it's been about 4 minutes and we have this rolling boil. We're going to leave it at this rolling boil. See how no matter how much I stir it, it doesn't stir down. That's the boil that we want. Now, we want to stir it and let it sit at this rolling boil for 1 minute. And I do have to say that watermelon juice does not smell the greatest when it's boiling, but it does taste fantastic. So now I'm not really happy with the color of this. I don't really like that orange, so we're just going to add a couple of drops of food coloring just to kind of bring back that pretty pink that we had. I think that was about 8 drops. We'll see. Alright, so we've been boiling for 1 minute. We're going to take our entire thing of sugar, which is a 5 1/4 cup of sugar. Now that amount does include the amount that we mixed in with our pectin earlier. So 5 1/4 cups total. So we're going to stir all that sugar in until it's dissolved. We're going to bring this back up to a boil. Once again, a boil that we cannot stir down. And we'll let that boil again for 1 minute. Make sure we get everything off the sides here. It's a nice pretty color, isn't it? We'll wait for that to come back up to a boil. Okay, so now we're back up to a rolling boil, and we're going to let this boil at this hard boil for 1 minute. Okay, now we're going to turn our heat off and just keep stirring it until the boiling reduces. We just don't want it to burn. And we are using a heavy bottomed pot here, but and while we're waiting on that, we will pull out our jars. Those set up. Making sure that you keep an eye on your pot while you're doing this. I used to always do the plate test when I would make jellies and stuff, and I kind of got out of the habit, and I wanted to do that for you guys today. Not sure, I kind of forgot, so I just actually threw my plate in the freezer a few minutes ago. I'm going to tip my jars over real quick, my hot jars. Be careful doing this because they are very hot. go check on my plate and see if it's cold enough. Okay, so I have my plate out of the freezer. We're just going to take a little spoonful of jelly and we're just going to place it right in the middle here. And we're going to let that sit for a moment. Put that there. We'll flip our jars back over. We're going to tip our plate. Just maybe a minute. See how it doesn't run? It's still tacky. It doesn't run down the plate. That means our jelly is ready. Hold on. Sorry about that. I was not prepared. I didn't have my ladle. So now we're going to start putting this into our jars. Leaving a 1/4 inch of head space in the jars. Jelly is very, very sticky. So always make sure that you have a wet, hot, wet towel, paper towel, regular towel, whatever you're going to use to clean off your rims. Otherwise, your lids are not going to seal properly. Well, they won't seal at all, actually. Yeah, that 8 drops of food coloring really made a pretty color. Now, you don't have to use the food coloring. I just like to. I like my watermelon to actually be red. Otherwise, you're going to get kind of a golden orange color. We might get another full jar, I'm not sure. If we don't, it's fine, but we will. There we go. You're gonna get one. Look at that. Beautiful. Whoops. Put a little bit more in this one. Perfect. Anyway, we'll scrape the rest out of that pan in a little bit. For now, we're going to take our paper towel and we're just going to dip it in our hot lid water pan. I'm going to go around and clean each jar. I'm going to put my little glove on. It's the glove I used to use with my heat press. A little lid doohickey. Put that on. finger tight, no tighter than that. If it's too tight, the air cannot escape, and then when the air is trying to come out, it buckles the lid, and then you will not get a proper seal. Finger tight. You can also use vinegar, a little vinegar bath to help clean your rims. That will remove any sticky residue. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I'm always afraid I'm going to get a little bit of vinegar inside my jelly. I don't want vinegar inside my jelly. Finger tight. 2 more jars. And then we will get these in the water bath canner, and we will process these for 10 minutes. So we still have our canner back there. It's hot. It's ready to go. It is not boiling at this point. Even if it was boiling, once we put the jars in, it's going to stop boiling because that's going to drop the temperature. So we want to bring it back up once the jars are in. Bring it back up to a rolling boil. That's when we start our 10-minute timer. So we'll put the lid on it. We'll make sure that it comes to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, you cannot open the lid. No. Okay. Move the camera a little bit. You can see a little bit more of what's going on over there. Okay. So we got 6 half pints out of this recipe. So out of 1 personal sized watermelon, we got, let's drop this quick. I'm actually going to move this pan to my front burner. So we want to make sure that we have at least 1 inch of water on top of actually no, I'll just leave it, it's fine. I'm going to turn this back up on high. We're going to put our lid on it. We're going to wait for it to come to a full boil. So I'm going to check it every couple minutes, see if it's at a boil. Once it is at a boil, I'm going to leave the lid on, set my timer on my stove for 10 minutes. Once that 10 minutes is up, I will turn off the burner and I'll let it sit for another 5, 10, even 15 minutes sometimes, usually around 10 minutes. And then I will come back and pull them out and we'll take a look. Okay, so our 10 minutes was up. We turned off the burner, we let it go for another 10 minutes. So now we're going to remove our lid. Make sure that you open it away from you because it is hot steam and we don't want to get that. Look at that. So now I'm going to set you back down over here and we'll lift our rack and get our jars out. This is the part you really want to be careful with. Don't want to accidentally drop your rack back down in there. My cupboard door doesn't want to stay closed. We're going to take our jars out. Look at that pretty color. Stay closed. I can already hear them pinging. They're not even on the counter yet. Always make sure that you do not put your jars directly on the counter. Always make sure that you're either putting them on a wood chopping block or on a towel. Now, once again, I forgot to put vinegar in my canning pot, which I often forget to do if I'm not using vinegar in a recipe. And what the vinegar does is it helps to keep, I don't know if you can see this in there, but the jar is, you know, it's got a layer of, I don't even know what it is on there. But when you put the vinegar in that, it makes it so you don't have to wipe your jars down as well after you're done, because you won't have that film on there. But you can hear they're all pinging nicely now. So we will end up with 6 beautiful jars of watermelon jelly. So you can see the frosty on there. Once they've cooled, I'll show you. I'll wipe down a jar then and show you what they look like without all that icky frost on them. There you go. Watermelon jelly. We got 6 half pints out of 1 personal watermelon. Have a great day. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.